Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back with a new F1 Esports video. This is the full race at Suzuka on board Jarno Opmeer. And you can see from my qualifying positions, P10, P12 was not a good qualifying for us. And bottom line is, we just didn't really hook up a good lap really at all. It wasn't really so much to do with traffic or anything. It's just the field is just so insanely competitive. If you just don't put in your max potential, you're going to be way out of position. And coming into this race, we were about 36 points behind Red Bull, the leaders and the constructors, and about 2 points behind Ferrari. So we have got a lot of work to do, considering Rasmussen is on pole, with Tunisia very close up to the front as well. You can see here, we've got 5 lights, starting on the medium tyre, the alternate strategy, and it's just absolutely crucial we get a good start. As I always say to the drivers, making sure that we just don't get any damage at all costs. I'd rather lose 2-3 positions than get damage. But Jarno has got an absolutely insane start, trying to go around the outside. Jarno Tomler, who is crucial for this championship. And we've gone from P10 to P8 in the first lap. And yeah, I just said over the radio that it was just an absolutely perfect start. And like good Germany, I'll just be talking about just our thoughts of what I was saying to the drivers and just the general mindset once again, just going through the race. And I will be uploading USA, which is probably the most exciting race of the Esports seasons that we had. So, but staying on board here, I just said just a perfect start, perfect job, and just looking to just don't do anything crazy or anything at this point. But obviously, we do want to get big points because we want to try and win this championship. That was the complete goal of this. As Haddad is going round the outside, I think that is Patrick Holzman in the Toro Rosso here. Daniel Haddad and Jan have had a few little incidents in the past event, so they're probably not going to be the best of friends. But this strategy, we're going very aggressive, as you can see, boxing on the first lap, because I can confirm the soft tyres are extremely quick and equally durable around this track. So whoever was leading out of our drivers, we're going to go into the pits now, but I knew a lot of people would probably go do the same. So Holzman and Tomola is doing the same, because he did the same strategy at Spa last event, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. People didn't expect that. He went from P16 to P5, but you can see we have been held up, because I think that was Jan Fehler actually coming to the pits, the Haas, and that has meant Johnny has overtaken us once again. So all that work we did in the first lap has pretty much been undone, and as I said, it's very crucial that we get ahead of him. So I just said to Jarno, just get that position back. Your race pace is just superior. Just keep calm, and yeah, your pace, you'll have plenty of opportunities to overtake. However, we need to do it quickly, because the guys who are starting on the softs, they'll be going to mediums at the end. It's going to be very difficult, because the DRS train, as you know in league racing, and particularly in esports, considering the races are 25% distance as well, it's going to be very difficult to potentially overtake if there is a slipstream train. So right now, I was saying to him, just try and get him on this next lap. Try and get him going down the straight on the start of lap 3, because if you could do that, then that would make your life a lot easier for the rest of this race here. So you can see he's pushing very hard now. Simon, who I'll be showing on board on USA in the next race, so the next video I do of this, he didn't have a particularly amazing start, and of course, since he didn't pit lap 1, he's going to be undercut with the soft tyres now. So putting him under a bit of pressure, you can see pulling into high mix, going down to lean, just to try and get a really good exit of this now. But I know Yanni's very good around this track, and with no DRS at this point in the race, it's going to be very difficult. And now it's going to be enabled for the very next lap, and you can see most of the people at the front starting on the soft tyres because they just wanted to get a good start. But these tyres now, although it's to do 12 laps on these tyres, you'd think it's not really possible, but they do hold up extremely well. And not to say that it's easy, you have to be driving it very hard. And you can see here now, Jarno is just trying to get as close to him as possible, and that's really what I was saying to him. I was just saying, just try and just put him under as much pressure and try and get him on the pit straight. If you can do that, since he doesn't have DRS and anyone else in front, it could completely change the race. So yeah, at this point, that's all he's trying to do, is just trying to get as close to him as physically possible. You can see going up into hot lap, then going into overtake, and trying to get a good launch off spoon, just to save a little bit of ERS in the slipstream. So really throwing it in here, and let's see if he gets a good exit. Third gear, just to get a little bit extra rotation, and then back into hot lap and overtake. And let's see what the Red Bull straight line speed is like, because I think our straight line speed is not bad at all, but you can see it's quite a long straight, and we've got the DRS now, or the DRS coming off this next corner. So if we could just get a really good launch, I can see the Red Bull, he actually goes in a little bit deep, so not a perfect chicane from Jarno. And now let's see, with the DRS we are quite far back, but no, we're not going to be that close. But the good thing for us is that we are going the quickest cars on track at this point, so the Red Bull was actually dragging us along, and we should be getting quite a good undercut on the cars ahead. And that's the reason, partly the reason why we've done this strategy, is just to avoid the traffic and just to get a good undercut. Because if you can get track position in esports, even if someone has a little bit fresher tyres than you, but if you've got DRS in the car in front, it's going to be almost impossible for people to actually be overtaking now. But you can see go through the sector, he makes a tiny mistake, but we do need to be a bit more closer than we are here, because see, we're definitely catching Patrick Holzman. So I was saying here, we probably only really have another couple of laps left really to overtake him. So the time, it really is now and in the next lap, because otherwise the window of opportunity is really going to be out the window. So let's see, trying to get a good exit. I think we're slightly closer than we were on the previous lap, and luckily, being the car behind, you're able to save a little bit more ERS. And going down here, we've got some good straight line speed. Not really going to be able to overtake going to the chicane, but let's see if we get a good one. He seems to go in quite deep here, and he definitely does not get as good exit as previously done. And we're on the DRS once again. Let's see if we can get near him, but once again, you can see there are cars coming out of pits, going round the outside, going to turn one, but almost making that move. Almost making that move. And I was saying again, good try, but now some cars come out relatively close in front of him. We really got to be making this move in the next lap, on the next pit straight, pretty much. That's the area of opportunity. That's where we really need to be doing it. And we've got Daniel Beresne on the medium tyres, so we've actually undercutted him. He actually started in the top 5, I think, in this race, and Alfa Romeo are actually not too far behind us. They're in 4th place in the championship, only 17 points behind at this stage in the championship, so we have to keep our whereabouts of them as well. Obviously we're focusing on front, but we don't really want to be falling behind either, so it's good that we've come out in front of him. And as I was saying before, although he's on fresher medium tyres, these tyres are still very good. And since we've got the DRS, it's going to be very difficult for him to overtake unless we make quite a big mistake. But here now, back to this. This is the closest we've been using the overtake, the full mix of a full fuel mix. And this is definitely the closest we've been now. So let's see if he gets it again. Let's see if he gets a good exit. And now this time, this is definitely the closest we have been. And with the DRS, you can see how close we were to overtaking him next time. There's going to be a couple of people coming out the pits. So it's absolutely now or never. Going round the outside of 2 cars of Lee and Tomola. And that move, I just couldn't believe that overtake. For me, that is the overtake of the season. Not because of just the actual overtake of itself, but how important it was for the championship. That was absolutely insane, and yeah, GG Tiana for that. That was all or nothing. If we didn't overtake him then and got stuck behind Lee, our race would have been completely over. And now we find ourselves in P6, just behind David Tanitsa. He started, I think, P2, P3 in this race, so it just shows the power of this strategy. And now I was just saying to him, try and get a podium from here if you can. Because it's very important we can try and get past Tanitsa as well, because if we can beat him, we'll actually move ahead of Ferrari in the constructors. So, at this point, that's all I said to him. And then, really, I was just trying to make sure I wasn't talking too much for the rest of the race, just to let him concentrate, because now we've got Brendan Lee behind us on new medium tyres, and that these soft tyres are good, but towards the end of the race they could be slightly faster than our soft. So I was just saying to Jarno now, just try and just get as close as you can to Ferrari in front with the DRS. We're comfortably within the DRS zone, and this should really be protecting us as we set the quickest lap of the race in succession, despite doing that overtake into turn 1 as well, which was, yeah, just a phenomenal overtake. But now the main focus is just making sure no one gets behind us, gets past us from behind with Brendan Lee, and sticking nice and close to them as well. So it's looking all good here. The balance of the car, Jarno was saying, was fitting very, very well. You can see he's being very, very aggressive with the wheel. But I would still like him to be just a little bit closer to Tunisia in front of him, just to make sure we're not vulnerable from the car behind, because I know Brendan, of course, I think he's one of the best drivers in the world, despite maybe some of the results he's had this year. There's absolutely no question that he's still one of the very, very best. And I know he really wants to prove himself. He really wants to get big points from Mercedes, because they are not doing as good into constructors as they would like to be. So I knew if he got an opportunity, he'd have no hesitation of throwing it down the inside. So right now we're doing a good job. P6, potential penalties in front as well in esports. The stewards are pretty strict on just racing incidents and contact and stuff as well. And we've actually got Alvaro Carreton in the Williams, who actually started on pole position. He's only just in front of us. So again, just showing how good a drive this actually is. Although we got held in the pits as well, don't forget, after that one, which I think cost us about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. You know, might have made a difference between being here and then being in that podium spot, which I think was seriously possible with this undercut of what we could have done. But nonetheless, there's still plenty of opportunities. These tyres are holding out very, very well, but we have got Brendan Lee relatively close behind us, but thankfully we have got quite a bit of fuel and ERS in the tank as well. And you're probably wondering, why are we going rich, or why is Jarno going rich quite a lot? I can confirm it doesn't really damage the engine too much, as Tunisia actually was thinking about going down the inside of the Williams now, because he's probably got the same mindset. If we get past him, we actually get past a Ferrari in the constructors, or I don't know if we would have got past him, but we would have been pretty much dead on level with him. So he's very, very anxious to do that. And he's got a driver's championship going for against Rasmussen, who has just started on the softs, and he is just gone on the mediums. He is just very, very good around this track. He managed to get the space, whilst all these guys are in a little bit of a slipstream train, as you can see, which is quite a common theme in esports, a slipstream train, and you really have to wait for someone to make quite a catastrophic mistake to get past them. Because we're getting much closer to Tunisia now, so let's see what our straight line speed is going to be like compared to Ferrari in a straight line. And you can see here, going back down to no ERS, there's no point using it when you've got the slipstream. Trying to cool down the engine ever so slightly, which I was just touching on before. It doesn't really hinder your performance too much. That's why you see a lot of the esports drivers going rich for quite a long time. It doesn't really hinder your straight line speed. It doesn't really damage the engine that much, which is a bit of a shame, because I think it should do. But obviously, when it's a game, you want to exploit everything you have available to as much as possible, as that is our first track limit warning of the race itself. So just going over the radio, not at this point, but probably coming out of this corner, I just said, just be mindful, that's your first one. And yeah, that's all you have to do. Just give little updates on things you need to do. And I was also just saying as well, your traction on these tyres is still much better than Brendan Lee's behind you. So as long as you get a good exit of corners, he's not really going to be a threat to you, to be honest, because you've got the DRS of the Ferrari in front, who's really, really hassling the Williams of Alvaro right in front of them now. So you never know what can happen here. Staying in the train, got a nice buffer to behind, so not too much pressure as he's going around the outside, going into chicane now. And let's see, doesn't go fully around the outside, but he gives himself a really, really good exit. And I think he's pretty quick in a straight line as well. So let's see what kind of speed he's doing. He's going around the outside. The Williams doesn't seem to be particularly quick, but he should be able to hold it into turn one, which he does nicely. Almost goes down the inside there. And obviously dirty air should be better in this game, but there is still an element of dirty air, which you can see the reason why he's going slightly wide going through into turn 1 here. I'm using lean and no rest just to give yourself a little bit of better traction and just harvest a bit more energy for the main straights, then back up to rich, back up to high, and then he'll go quickly back down to none, and then back down to lean as well. Just those things that you probably don't really need to change them that much, but it just gives you a little extra boost, which you really do need, as Brendan's starting to get a little bit closer now. And I was just saying to Jarno here, if there's a clear opportunity to pass, go for it, but we don't need to do all or nothing on Tunisia here right now. But this is the best run we've got, and still showing that these tyres are working extremely well. And just going back to the previous overtake we did on Joni Tomola, if we didn't actually do that overtake and we're behind Lee, we'd be in P8, only making up a couple positions. We wouldn't be in this position. So it just proves every tenth, every moment really, really does count in this. But we're not going to be close enough on this occasion. The Ferrari's not going to be close enough to the Williams either. And let's see if we get a good exit coming off here. As we get a fairly decent exit, there's a little bit of activity going on up front. I think that's Lucas Blakely in P2. He's doing a fabulous job. He's doing a really, really good job in that racing point here. But we've got a little bit of a train behind him, as I said before, Rasmussen is just gone. He's about 2-3 seconds up the road, just having that clear air, and arguably, no doubt about it, he's one of the best drivers in this field with no question. So, but you can see here now, just getting a little bit of dirty air, and this is probably the stage where the tyres are starting to go off ever so slightly, and Lee just getting a bit closer, and just on the main straight coming out of Spoon. I'll probably be saying to you right now, just focus on your exits, just focus on the traction, and try not to overheat your rear tyres or anything at all. And then making sure you just get nice smooth exits like this, and you can see the traction is pretty good. The engine temperature is still high, but I think everyone has that kind of sort of engine temperature. But yeah, just getting really good exits off here now. And if there is an opportunity on Ferrari, then yeah, absolutely, just go for it. But see a little bit of dirty air pushing him ever so slightly wide, and now let's see, no pressure from behind once again. But with the slipstream train ahead of us, it's going to be very, very difficult to make a move on the Ferrari here and going into chicane. He's going semi defensive, but let's see if we can get a really good run. This is the closest we've been, but one thing I think with Jarno's driving style, he's very quick in the corners, maybe just not as quick on the traction, but that's really just down to his driving style, which obviously works very well. As someone is trying to make a move, I think that is Holzman trying to make a move on Lucas Blakely, and again, if we just didn't get held up in the pits, we would have been right there. We could have potentially got Holzman before even this. We could have been in the battle for P3 here. So, all if, buts, maybes. But I think we've been, sometimes this season, a little bit genuinely unlucky. I think in the pits, particularly at Canada, Silverstone, and here, it's cost us multiple positions in the pits. So, and if you're behind a DRS train like this, it's going to be, even if you're half a second quicker than the car in front, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to overtake him. But now it's starting to bunch up on this penultimate lap here, and we've got Lee much closer to here. So as I said, in the last 2-3 laps of this race, this is when probably the mediums will start to have slightly, or probably just as good traction at this stage in the race here. So very important to get a good exit off here, which Jarno does very nicely. And yeah, Lee is close, probably a little bit closer to us than we are to Tunisia in front. But I think Tunisia is really going to put some pressure on that Williams, who goes round the outside of him, going into 130, gets the inside for the chicane, and that's why he's leading the Drivers' Championship. It's just that racecraft was just ridiculous. So we know that's not good for us as well, because we were fighting Ferrari in the championship, so we really didn't need that. So I was really hoping for the Williams to get back at him. The Williams who started on pole position in this race as well, now back down in P5, which just shows even if you start on pole, you still, it's going to be very, very difficult to stay there. As we get a little bit of a touch from Brendan here, who's actually pushing Jarno around the track. And yeah, it's just showing this is the stage where the tyres are slowly starting to get off now. And this has put us in a pretty difficult position. We almost lost the car. That could have been absolutely fatal going through here now. But I was just saying, just try and just regroup yourself, just try and get as close as you can and just get a good launch off Spoon, just get a good couple of carlets between you two. And that's what he's trying to do here, putting it into high and rich. Although the traction and tyres are starting to go, just use the rest of your fuel, use the rest of your ERS to make sure you stay ahead of Brendan, and then going into Spoon, really throwing it in now, using all the track possible, making wide early on the throttle, just trying to use a little bit of that slipstream, and we should be relatively safe from Brendan. But that was a bit of a heart-wrenching moment going through the first sector, but coming through 130R, yeah, not going to be under the threat. I was hoping he wasn't going to dive bomb, which he didn't. I think he brakes very late, but definitely not going to be close enough. Rasmussen wins the race, set the quickest lap on the last lap as well, and coming across the line, we come home in P6, and that was also the official result as well. So a very exciting race, arguably I think the overtake of the season as well, and just showing those little moments, the good moments of that overtake, and also just being held in the pits can make a massive difference. Suzuka will be coming up next, probably be middle of next week when that comes up. But again, thank you so much for the support of myself, for the Renault Formula 1 team, for Team Vitality, for Jarno, Cedric and Simon. Simon unfortunately couldn't get into the points here. Well, I think he might have just got into the points, in fact. He did a very good recovery as well. I'll be using his onboard for the next race as well. The majority of it will be on his onboard. So thank you so much for the support of us, and we'll catch you very soon. Peace.